Hey,
Hey, welcome to the Cam and Otis Show. This week, John Krotec come back to see us. It's been a little over a year or so, but John's got some really cool stuff. Eternal Entrepreneur, and starting a new gig. How you like that, John? Eternal Entrepreneur.
I think you just coined a brand new term, and I'm sure that'll be in the dictionary before the end of the week. Somebody will pick up on it. But yeah, I mean that's what we do, Otis, and you know that once we track with entrepreneurism in our blood, it's something that it's hard to get rid of. And just want to say I'm blessed to be back with you guys again. And anytime I can be in the foxhole or in the bunker with the McGregors, I know that I am freaking safe. So thank you.
So let's jive it. Let's jive, man. Yeah, I'm going way back
You're
to.
dating yourself, sir.
Well, I can tell you, jive time was way before me. That's your time, John.
No, come on, man.
No, what I want to jump into, that's the word I was looking for, the other J word, jump. What I want to jump into is this new business. So let's dive right into that, man. Tell us about it.
Well, thank you, Otis. It's called Hashtag Planet. And we have a website, hashtagplanet.co. You have to spell out hashtag. And it is a platform for nonprofits to sell apparel. And the nonprofits are struggling, and there's a lot of righteous missions out there. And we hear this word activism. And so I was watching what was going on, and I'll let the true story out, what was going on with BLM over the summer, and had seen that they had sold a bunch of apparel online with their stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, well, if they can do it with that mission, I know that I can create a portal with another mission to help multiple nonprofits. And so we basically have branded a t-shirt with our logo. It's the planet. Looks like a 5-year-old drew it, but it's so simple, it's ridiculous. But it's a planet with a hashtag, and we're calling it Activate Yourself. And then on the right sleeve is a logo of one of our clients, a nonprofit, and we're looking at veterans, mental health, plant medicine, and what's the other one? Human trafficking. Mm-hmm. And that's on the right sleeve. And then the organization gets to pick out 3 to 5 hashtag slogans that goes on the front. And so it's a way to advertise their organization. So people ask them about their mission. And then it's also a way for them to reap revenue streams from a percentage of the sale. Mm-hmm. We're not a backpack. We're not a t-shirt company. We're not an apparel company. We're a true cause marketing company. Our client base are the nonprofits. And right now we sell a single item t-shirt, too simple, it's ridiculous, 5 colors, all different sizes. And then we'll start getting into more things as we move forward. And we've got 20 nonprofits that have already joined us already.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. So then the business model, so you're a for-profit business though, right?
Yes, sir. For-profit business.
So then your business model is to, you take a percentage of those sales, which enables the client, the nonprofit, to get more branding out there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Well, think about this. Think about if Camden and you and me, Otis, let's say we had a nonprofit, and I see so many nonprofits out there trying to get into the clothing gig, and it takes them off their mission. So what we do is we set up a portal with a shop, an online shop for them, storefront, if you will. The executive directors and the people that are running these nonprofits, they can leave it up to us. You and me and Camden, we don't want to get involved in clothing sales, but we also want to get our mission out there, and we want to be able to advertise it. Mm-hmm. So we're basically taking that job task not away, but we're taking that job task from those leaders of those organizations, and then we're paying them for that. There's no cost to them. Mm-hmm. So we work directly with a direct print t-shirt company, and there's some high quality ones out there. And so right now they get the lion's share of it, but as we start to change the model and move forward, become more popular, we would like to take over that function, maybe work with the veteran-owned company that makes shirts, and then a higher percentage could be paid to our clients as well as us. Right now, it's the direct print company, then the nonprofit, then us. But the reality is if we could help, we're calling it apparel activism. If we can help 300 nonprofits make $5 or $6 for every t-shirt that gets sold. And all they have to do is give us their logos, their mission, and some artwork. Why would we not do that? So Camden, Otis, and me, we would join hashtag Planet, and all we would do is get a check every month because people are buying. We're sending people that want to support us to that storefront, as well as us marketing the site as well. So I think it's pretty cool. And so far, 20 nonprofits enjoy it.
Yeah, I really love the business model there, because then, from the nonprofit side of things, of course, you're getting a task off of your to-do list, which is always great, and you can focus more on what you do best and on really helping people. And you can take it, like I said, take that task off the to-do list. But what I really like about it is what you were hinting at with, and then you coined the phrase before I could jump in, of apparel activism. Because what I was thinking about so much is, we all have our tribes. And there's all sorts of different levels of that. But generally, people like showing off what tribe they're in. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just like me wearing my Cowboys hat a few times a week, even though they suck. I'm showing up that I'm still a Cowboys fan, even though they are freaking terrible this year.
They're not doing too good.
No, they're not. But I still wear that hat because I want to signal that I am still a Cowboys fan. I do the same thing with the Avalanche, do the same thing when I put up a flag here or anything like that. It's all about signaling who we are, because we want to show who we are to people. And I think what you're doing there is tapping into that in a really pure way. People want to support their nonprofit. They want to get the word out there about it. And you get these raving fans for the nonprofit that then get to carry around that clothing, show it off for themselves. They get to feel good about it. And then they're also out there spreading the message. So I think it just works on so many different levels there. I love it.
Well, thank you, Camden. That's pretty astute. You see it right away. And what we think about this, people out there, they want to know how they can really help. We hear so often about nonprofits that take in money and they don't do anything. And, why do we want to support them? So what we do is we vet the nonprofits that we work with. So when you go to hashtag Planet, you already know the nonprofits there are actually doing what they say they're going to do. So we can all spend $25, $29 on a t-shirt. And let's say, again, like I said, if we had our own nonprofit, we could send our potential donors to the storefront just by giving them that direct hot link. And then we reconcile every month and get a check. We've already sent out some checks. We just went live on Veterans Day, and we're already in a video. The shirts are being worn by a guy in a video. By the way, his name is B. Taylor. He's a hip hop artist. There's a country music side to that too. They're wearing their shirts, hashtag I serve, the One Life Foundation, and we're in a music video. So it's fantastic. We just sent a check off to Veterans Path. John McCaskill, who is Navy SEAL guy, who is working in
he's a neighbor of mine too, by the way. If you didn't know.
No kidding. That guy is freaking awesome. Yeah. He saw the vision right away. They sold like 20 shirts. We just sent them off a check. And so it's already proven. We've had a lot of organic sales that have come in from we don't know where. But once the widget gets, to go back to your point, Camden, once the widget gets finished, and we're working on that now, then the nonprofit just attaches that to their homepage and they get sales. So we're super excited. I mean, Green Zone Heroes still going, and Straight Out Combat Radio, and Otis. I've been trying to get back to VLBM for a while, but it's been tough. But things are going. We're just, what we're trying to do is find solutions for people. And you guys know what this year's been like. I mean, it has not been good for a lot of people. And so we just want to help wherever we can and make money. And why not?
Well, I think there's something that you tipped on, and what I really think is interesting, because having worked in a nonprofit, and as you were describing it, I remember the young lady who was responsible for our store, and this time of year it's hectic. She's spending 30 of her 40 hours or more, and she's supposed to be in the the fundraising side, which I guess selling stores. But anyway, she's managing the store. She's ordering, she's taking orders in, she's filling. It's like, man, that's it was taken away from her duties where she could have been more engaged with donors and raising that. So that's the thing. I think the point is is the outsourcing of things so you can in business and well in life, outsourcing and things so that you can focus on what you're, to use the term, which I'm not a big fan of, superpower, right? But you can focus on that, what you're trying to do with your business. And I think that's, you're filling a huge niche that I don't think particularly young, and I'll use the term younger or more startup stage nonprofits really understand until they get overwhelmed. So it's great to hear that John is already signed in with you, and you got all these other organizations that are signed in with you, because man, that's going to be huge for them to be successful, I think.
Well, and not to pat you on the back too hard here, John, but what I'm realizing as we're talking through this, then also it takes me, thinking with the Engage Foundation here and other nonprofits I've worked with, everyone wants to reach that t-shirt stage, but everyone jumps to that t-shirt stage way too early, and they got a bag of t-shirts laying somewhere. I have 6 Verby t-shirts out there if anybody wants them, because I would love to sell them and buy more, but also at this point I just need to give them away so I can get some more. But then you're just spending the money, and you've plugged that in a very creative way that is going to take that stress off of them from the work standpoint, but then also from the financial risk standpoint. I think that's a really big thing there.
Yes, thanks, Camden, and thank you, Otis, because you guys have both hit it. We talk about mission focus, and Otis just pointed out, how people get mission creep, and if somebody that knows absolutely nothing about retailing clothing is involved in that, then whatever the mission is of the nonprofit gets put by the wayside. And we'd like to change that, but even more so, this whole thing about activism and hashtags aren't going away. Everybody has a hashtag that's associated with their business. Now, we're talking about nonprofits right now, but imagine if we have a for-profit site as well, where people buy the hashtag Planet shirts with the Activate Yourself globe at their logo. We can do a lot of cool things, t-shirts and all kinds of stuff. But the main thing is to allow those people that don't know how to support a nonprofit, they can, ours are vetted, but they can do it for relatively inexpensive. They don't have to give the $5,000 or the $10,000 or the $25,000 donation. They can buy a t-shirt and feel good about it, because not only is that organization going to get helped, but everybody in the whole line and chain of distribution, they all reap the rewards of it. And if we don't make money, and this is what nonprofits, we hear the word nonprofit, and I know you guys have heard this. Nonprofits aren't supposed to make money. Well, they did themselves a disservice when they said nonprofit. That's why it's changing to NGO now. Because, ladies and gentlemen listening to y'all show, nonprofits have to make money. If they do not make money, the mission dies. And then all of those transitioning veterans, or those homeless people, or those hungry people, or those people that have been sexually abused or trafficked, they don't get the help they need from the leaders of these nonprofits. And so it's okay to make money. Nonprofits need to make money. And so it's another platform for us to create revenue streams for them. Let's get real. Let's talk about the year of authenticity, right? And COVID has given us an opportunity to look at ourselves in the mirror and think about what's really important. Well, I can tell you, a homeless veteran who's in a bad place is really important to me. And if I can support a John McCaskill Veterans Path organization by just buying a t-shirt, then I know that I'm part of something really significant. It's a lot bigger than being a freaking t-shirt.
Yeah.
Imagine if everybody decided they wanted to become an apparel activist and do something really good for the planet. Then everything that we do, we feel good about. I mean, aren't you tired of not feeling good about the things that you do? There's so many people out there doing stuff that's just, how can they feel good doing that? And so hashtag Planet is a breath of fresh air for their nonprofit clients who want to take that off their plate and concentrate on their mission. But it's also good for people that want to be part of something cool,
right?
Part of something big. And then everybody's happy. It's the greatest country in the world. And the reason why, and Otis said it, because we have entrepreneurs that are allowed to function and take advantage of opportunities that freedom, that's the other side of this, affords us. It's a free country. I want to help as many people as I can, and we're going to try to do it with hashtag Planet. We're already doing it.
You know, I think from an entrepreneur side, one of the things that you talk about is how as an entrepreneur, you have to address different needs that folks have. And one of the big ones that there is people's need to give. And I think a lot of people feel this, that it's a need to give back in some way or another. And then the other aspect of that, the other side of the coin there is going to be your status protection or a status boost. And I think what you do there by vetting is, again, a creative solution there that I think people can extrapolate to other business problems. Because by vetting it, you're there and you're saying, look, if you wear this t-shirt, you're not going to find out that they're, not donating any of this money and just stacking the cash in the back room 6 months later or anything like that, and realize that you've
I've been planning parties in Las Vegas.
Exactly.
On the Learjet. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. And then they're still getting that status boost of going out and having the confidence and going out looking, like I said, the tribal signaling of, look, I supported this. This is something I'm passionate about. This is something I care about. And then you add in the fact that they get to feel good about that. It really just is an all-encompassing thing as far as that consumer goes as well. And I think you can apply that type of thinking to many different other business areas.
I got to give you an astute AAM today. You've like hit it twice. You get an oak leaf cluster because.
So John, you got to tell everybody what an AAM is.
It's an Army Achievement Medal, and you get them for showing that you went above and beyond the call of duty. And what's nice about you, Camden, on this show, and I've watched some of your shows, is your ability to figure it out quickly. And I got to tell you, a lot of radio show hosts don't do that. And you do that. And so it just makes me proud to be here. And I like it when people get things, and we try to make it simple. And I guess that's what I'm getting at is KISS and Otis, with respect to you, keep it simple, stupid. And, that's what we want to do. And I think that we can find solutions. We so often want to confuse things. And if we can simplify the things that we do, like giving and allowing people to give, then we've accomplished something. So like in today's techno world, it doesn't have to be that complicated.
I think that reminds me to a conversation I had earlier today, and that's why I'm so charged. I got up at 4:30 today. I've been reading and working since then. But if you,
that's awesome, man. I love that.
Oh yeah, third cup of coffee. We're going hard. But no, I think entrepreneurs in a lot of ways function as simplifiers, because it's solving different really market failures, in my opinion, that there is an opportunity there, but people don't take that action because it's too difficult or they don't know what to do. And I think in a lot of ways, entrepreneurs go in and they really simplify that. And I think that's so important, because whatever kind of problem solving you're doing, I'll take the easy example of academia. Doesn't matter how much great research studies you do, if no one understands what you're talking about and no one can apply what you're talking about, it's never going to actually have an effect. And I think that's where, in that sense, and in a lot of other senses, entrepreneurs can really connect those different pieces of the equation to the academia, big picture problem solvers. And then it's okay, well, how do we actually boil this down for folks? And I think that's what we're really talking about here, is the entrepreneur simplifying that equation and fixing those market failures.
No, absolutely. And Otis hit the nail on the head when he said serial entrepreneur. I'm kind of, I like to journal and I like to think about a lot of things, and probably too much. And I came up, remember E equals MC squared? Well, I came up with something last night where E equals MS squared divided by belief. So MS squared divided by B, but E being success. Success to me, we talk about simplicity, is mindset, which is vision and execution, divided by the belief that you're going to actually get there. So I'm reading this crazy quantum physics book last night, and I was thinking, how do we apply this to what your dad just said, entrepreneurism? And to me, it is that. It's the mindset squared divided by the belief, mindset being vision and execution. And so imagine, Camden, if we as creators can find the solutions, develop a solution, but allow everybody to be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the global community is all about. And being an American, and I'm proud of that. And I like to see the flags, because that's what we're all about. You know, we're about opportunity, and we're about working together and teamwork and all of these things that people are trying to tell us that we're not. But imagine, as entrepreneurs, that's who moves the envelope or pushes the envelope to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
You guys yourself have worked with so many entrepreneurs, and you're entrepreneurs yourself, but you're taking your skill sets and you're applying them to the overall mission, which to me is to make the world a better place, to make our community a better place, to make our states better, our country, whatever. But anytime we can simplify things, it definitely makes it better. I don't know. I think I've had too much coffee.
Well, I think one of the things you're touching on there, and it's something where things can be kind of misconstrued about how the good side of things versus the bad side of things. And when you're talking about there as entrepreneurs, what it reminds me a lot of is a book I'm reading now by Frank Knight, an old economist, died like 100 years ago. But in his language, he uses the entrepreneur and the capitalist in the same sense. We like to think that the capitalist is this evil person out there hoarding all their wealth or anything like that. It's like, no, they're people that are solving problems. Those problems have a price tag and they're making money off of it. And a lot of them then take that money and invest it into solving other problems. And I think it's an interesting, at the very least, a thought experiment of, well, who's better off having the money in those type of situations? The person who's actually able to amass it genuinely through a free market of their own skill and then reinvest it continually where you're going to get the most out of it, versus a situation like you talked about where what people think nonprofits are, where you're not making any money, you're not doing anything, you're not thinking like an entrepreneur, and then you run out of money and you can't have any real effect. And so I think that's a really interesting thing there of just what an entrepreneur is, and really rethinking that, because it is everything. It's any person who's in business like that. And there's a good reason why those folks are making the money and why people work so hard to become those successful entrepreneurs. And then they reinvest the money and make more money. And, ideally, I'd like them all to give it back at some point and help more people out. But if you keep starting new businesses and those businesses keep helping people, then that's even better, isn't it? Because it just keeps on feeding the system.
Again, there you go again, Camden. You got another great observation. The word capitalism, right? I've been to a lot of different countries, been in some socialist countries, and, there's always capitalists there. They're the little mom and pop on the sidewalk selling something. And, in communist countries, I think they call it the black market. But, capitalism has a tendency to create the solutions that you just talked about. And it does. It's not a top down, it's more bottom up. And as we start to roll into these entrepreneurial ideas, we do create synergies that make it better for everybody. Obviously, there's some people that don't play nice, but for the most part, most of the entrepreneurs that I've ever met, they're just great people. They're just wanting to live a life and find something really exciting that they like to do. And generally speaking, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because most entrepreneur dreams that become something very successful, they've helped a lot of people to get there. And I just love that.
Well, yeah, even if you just break it down into, and I'm going to jump into some social enterprise thoughts in a second, but even if you just break it down to that entrepreneur started a business and now he's got 20 people, or she has 20 people working for her. Those are 20 people that are now employed. And depending on the type of business and all those sort of things, that's likely 20 people that are able to pay for their kids to go to college or whatever, or to take a vacation that they've never been able to take before, or buy a house. There's a whole aspect of this that if you get off your high horse and you look at it and say, wow, look at that person, that entrepreneur came up with an idea to solve a problem. People are paying money for that solution. And oh, by the way, the people that are paying money for that solution are very happy because nobody's making them buy it. Nobody's making them pay $5, $50, whatever it is. You always have the negging nanny over here on the side going, oh, yeah. I wouldn't pay that much. But you know what? Somebody is. And as long as they are, that person is helping and giving somebody a solution that they want. And what I wanted to kind of dovetail that into is the whole social enterprise. You know, that's kind of a phrase that's popular right now. And I think there's truth to it. And I'm glad it's popular because now people are more aware and consciously aware. And I've known several entrepreneurs that from day one have committed to some sort of partnership. You know, for every dollar of profit, I give 10 cents to whatever. And, you know, matter of fact, Perfect Venue, the founder of Perfect Venue, Luke Hutchison, I can't remember the nonprofit now, but from day one, he's been doing that, giving a percentage of the profit to a nonprofit to help that nonprofit. I mean, from day one, think about that as an entrepreneur, when you're scraping by on cash and you have zero cash, or your cash flow is so tight, and you commit to right from the beginning, making that donation to an organization. That's a powerful thing. And I think that's one of the things, you know, kind of bringing us back around in the circle into #Planet. That's one of the opportunities that you're giving to these nonprofits for that reconnection, if you will. And I think that's a powerful place. And, you know, there's something about a t-shirt, the simplicity of it. You know, I used to, back in the days when I used to be able to run, I would,
before your knees went out. Yeah.
Yeah. And everything else. But I would say, you know, if there was a race coming up, I'd say, well, what's the t-shirt look like? I ain't going to sign up for any race and not get a t-shirt. You know, and there's a lot to be said. I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that way. Mm-mm. And, you know, if I can donate $25 to, you know, Veterans Path, and that $25 gets me a t-shirt, well, you know, there you go. I like that setup.
It's very simple. And thanks for pointing that out too, Otis. Hashtags aren't going away. Nonprofits aren't going away. People that need help aren't going away. And, you know, my wife and I ran a small business, bricks and mortar, for 23 years, right? And every year we gave away money to nonprofits. Sometimes we didn't even know who they were, but we were always giving away something. And when I sold that business and closed out my files, I used to keep all of my certificates that I would get back, receipts. And it was about $73,000 that our little company had given away over a course of 23 years. And I don't know what the return was. I didn't have anybody come back to me and go, hey, by the way, I was with the Sandy Claus Beach Run, 5K run, and I know you guys gave to it. I never knew the community impact or the life impact of giving that money away. All I do know is that we ran a successful business for 23 years in my community, and we were profitable every year but one. Mm-hmm. So, which brings me back to the point, every relationship in business, whether it's B2B, peer-to-peer, like us guys, client to owner, people buying whatever relationship that you enter into in business, it's got to be a two-way street. You know, even strategic partnerships. I'm not in this, let's just say, to just promote me. Mm-hmm. If we're going to work together and we're going to have a true strategic partnership or a true business relationship, there's got to be that two-way street. Anytime anything is one-sided, we fail. Mm-hmm. Otis, and the teams that you used to train, are you kidding me? If the teams didn't work together, what happened? You guys were at serious risk. And so same thing in business. Whether it's nonprofit or profit, if we're going to partner with people and have clients and customers and all these good things that goes along with business, we better be committed to our networks. And I think that's important. And I just want anybody that comes on to #Planet as a client, nonprofit like Veterans Path or, you know, Adaptive Vet, I just want them to know that we're committed to their missions just as much as they are. Mm-hmm. And anybody buying a t-shirt, Otis, thanks for pointing out t-shirts. Anybody buying a t-shirt, we're committed to giving you a good product. And we want to make sure that you're happy with what you get through our system as well. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a partnership. You keep us in business and you keep the nonprofits going. So it's a community thing. I've always looked at business as a community team effort.
Yeah. Well, It is. It is. And, you said something early on about, better communities and better world. That's one of my favorite things I like to say, in my mission statement of creating better leaders to create better organizations. With better organizations, create better communities, and with better communities, we have a better world. And if you think about just doing those little things, and we're solving the world's problem. We don't even have whiskey. We're still on coffee. So this is pretty powerful, right?
Is it 5 o'clock yet? No.
It means we're going to write it down actually this time.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
But if you think about those little things that can happen and how you can have that effect and change to somebody else. I talk about the smile, and now we're wearing masks. So now you got to do the howdy and the head nod sort of thing. But just those little things that we can do, supporting a nonprofit. If there's a nonprofit that does something that you're fond of, passionate about, then find that organization and help them, whether it's volunteering or giving them a check or whatever. Help that organization, and it's going to make a difference. It will make a difference.
That's a great point.
The interesting thing here, and I would like to get both of y'all's input on this, is we've talked about wanting to have an impact and having that impact. But then something interesting you mentioned, John, was kind of the idea of not really knowing what your impact was. And I think that's something where you kind of reach this point where we all want to feel good about having an impact. One of the best things nonprofits can do for marketing is saying, look at the tiger you just saved, because it helps people understand what they're doing. But I think when you really think about giving on a larger scale is you really don't get to know what kind of impact you're having. So I would love to hear from both of y'all on your experience of what that's like and how you can kind of come to terms with that, in the sense that you never get to see the crops of the seeds you're sowing.
Well, this show needs to be called Being Astute at a High Level. There were two organizations, Camden, that I used to give to every single year. $500. They came in the door. It didn't matter. $500. One of them was the Moat Marine Laboratory. It's an oceanic laboratory on the water over here. They research sharks and cancer and all this kind of stuff, but it's really cool stuff out of my pay grade. But $500 every year. Here you go, $500. And then the other one was, I mentioned it, the Sandy Claus Beach Run, which was a 5K run on the beach. And I saw the little girl or the guy coming in, and $500. But they might have put a logo on something, a banner somewhere. But I did that for 23 years. Those two organizations alone was just $1,000, right? That's a lot of money. But for so that's $23,000 out of that 70 plus that I talked about that went to just two organizations. And I remember my dad, God bless him, he's not here, but I remember my dad telling me what you just said, Camden. If you give, you're putting it out there, don't worry about it. If you're given to get something in return, then maybe you shouldn't give. If you're buying something, it's different. But if you're giving something, I didn't expect them to bring me anything, because the money I knew was going to go to cancer research. One of them was a run, one of them was a shark research center. But it made me feel good. And I will bet you that $1,000 a year that I spent to those two organizations, that somebody knew that my wife's in my shop gave. And I'll bet you that even though they didn't come in and say it, I will bet you that we had sales off of that. I can't quantify giving like that, but I do know that we were respected in our community as a business that cared about the community and their customers and the things that took place in the community, like you guys with the rugby. So even if it didn't help me monetarily, from a brand perception point of view, how much money buys that? Whether I gave $1 or $500, but the feeling itself, knowing that you were part of a community network, to me made all the difference in the world. And there was a reason we were in business for 23 years. And that means a lot. And I think that I had something always in my head. Polarization only works in sunglasses. It never works in sustainable communities. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
so why polarize the community, make it just all about you?
Mhm.
It's really about everybody. And I got to tell you, the first customer I had gave me a $1 bill. You know how you get that lucky dollar bill? 23 years later, the last week that my wife were in business before we sold it, he came in and spent money. He had had a child, and the child had a child. So 3 generations, see that here? 3 generations of customers supported our shop.
Wow.
That's rock solid. That
Mhm.
one customer alone, out of the thousands that we did business with, meant more to me than the whole ride, because we were able to affect one customer who kept coming back for over 2 decades,
Mhm.
and not only spent money the first week, but the last week that we were in business. And that's what giving is all about. I will bet you that money, in a universal cosmic kind of way, came back to us because of the giving attitude
Mhm.
that my wife and I had.
And we can
I don't
really
know.
see in the philosophy of that when I asked you about giving, it tied back into the customer, because that's really, you're wanting to give to them and give that value to them. And I just think it was great that how you tied that together. Dad, do you have a stoic quote that sums up everything John just said?
It's not a Stoic quote. It's a Tony Robbins quote. So
There
pretty
we go.
Tony says, "Giving is living," and there's so much truth to that. And I also want to, it's this
It's
dichotomy
awesome.
of you give, but you don't give to get thanks. You shouldn't, right? If it's truly a gift, you shouldn't care. If you give a sandwich to the homeless guy on the corner, you're not expecting a thank you note from him.
Mhm.
Or even if you drive by the next day, you're not expecting them to say thank you. But I'm going to flip the coin. If you are that organization, that nonprofit, and somebody's giving you something, whether it's service, their time, or monetary donations or whatever, you ought to thank them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that is a differentiator. When we talk about business and differentiators, in our red ocean, which is what we're in right now for veteran nonprofits, veteran service organizations, it's a red ocean. There's a gazillion of them. I don't know how many there are.
Lots of them.
Yeah, and a differentiator is the ones that's going to call you up, send you a card. I mean, I made a donation to one of my favorite nonprofits earlier in the year, and I got a phone call from the CEO. When that check in the envelope hit his office, he picked up the phone and said, "Otis, man, this is awesome." That right there. And this isn't some small rinky-dink thing. Those little things, and this carries into business also for customers and clients, converting customers into clients. But you have to be gracious and giving and gracious. If you follow those 2 G's in life, man, it's gonna be pretty happy.
You can't lose. And you know what? You just made me think about Amy Vanderbilt's book of etiquette. I when I was in college, I think it was a marketing course, was part of the curriculum, the required reading. And I'm like, what, here I am, 18 years old, what the hell etiquette? What's this? And so, but I bought the book, and that teacher's actually pretty smart, because some of the things that I learned, what you just said, Otis, about etiquette, has never gone away. And that part of this existence in business has been lost on a lot of people. But the people that don't forget it, you just pointed out so eloquently, differentiator, that's got a lot of syllables in it. But that word differentiator, that is etiquette all wrapped up in a nice bow.
Mhm.
And that's a great bit of advice for people out there listening.
Dad, I think you tied it to being a gracious leader, and that's something I'm thinking of as goes back to my leadership classes and those type of things. One of the first things they tell you when they talk about management and stuff is don't understate the value of a thank you or a good job or anything like that, because it doesn't cost you a damn thing, and it means a lot to people. And I love to talk about incentives and that kind of thing, and think about thank you as an incentive inside that equation. You don't want to get anything out of it. We shouldn't be wanting, when you're giving, you're not wanting to get anything out of it. But yet, I'll take your example, Dad, of the homeless person you bought a sandwich. If they don't even say thank you, though, ooh, you're not going to go buy that next homeless person you see a sandwich. Most likely you would say, because even though it's just 2 words, it's a huge incentive for that positive behavior, because those 2 words mean so much to all of us.
No, that's awesome. And absolutely. And you're right, Camden. Words are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're putting thank yous out into the universe, and Otis had just talked about a smile a minute ago, but when you're putting smiles and thank yous out into the universe, and this is not woo woo, this is real science. This is quantum physics, right? It just snowballs. It's the old guy has a rough day at work. Clients are screaming and yelling at him all day long. He comes home and screams and yells at his wife, or maybe it goes the other way, and then they kick the dog, and it just kind of snowballs.
Oh yeah.
Well, imagine if gratitude or graciousness and smiles and thank you snowballs.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of what anybody thinks, I remember my brother in college. I mean, this is going back a long time ago. He said, I forget what the hell we were doing, but he goes, John, if you could get over caring about what people think about you, you're going to be okay. And so little brothers are smart sometimes. So I really took that to heart. And what he basically was telling me, just be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Be authentic. Don't try to be something that you're not. So when you tell somebody thank you, mean it.
Mm-hmm.
A thank you execution, right? You just executed one of the nicest things you can say to somebody. Thank you, or I love you, or whatever. But that works, Camden.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are right. I mean, I think it snowballs, and we need more of that.
And I think authenticity can snowball like that too. When you're authentic, especially if we take the example of a business and as a leader on a team, if you're authentic, you're going to get authenticity all the way through. And, we've talked about it quite a bit, Dad. I think, the social multiplier effect. My favorite example of it is Michael Jordan, because he's the interesting one people don't think of once he's on TV doing all those crazy things he could do, every single kid is trying it. And that's the same type of thing happens. And because those kids are all trying it, they're playing against each other, they get better. And it keeps going and going and going and multiplying like that. And the same thing can and does. I'll take you a step farther, John. It's not just that it can happen and how beautiful it would be. It does happen. We just haven't gotten on the big enough scale yet. We can always do better, right? But graciousness, authenticity, all of those things work just the same as negativity inside that social multiplier. It's about what you want to put into it, though.
I'll turn it into something very quantifiable. If I see somebody walking down the street with a Veterans Path t-shirt and it looks pretty cool, you know what I'm doing? I'm going to go get me a Veterans Path t-shirt. It's one of those, how many times have you seen somebody and gone, that's a pretty cool shirt. Where'd you get that?
Yeah.
That right there is another aspect of how to support nonprofit, kind of bringing us back into the circle of where we started again.
Oh yeah.
It's that you see it. And then again, if the guy's an asshole and he's got that shirt on, I ain't buying it. So how do you got to think about that too, right? It's that old adage of whether uniform's on or not, you are an officer of the United States military, right? You still represent that sort of thing. Well, guess what? If you're wearing so-and-so's t-shirt and you're acting like an asshole, you do something, pisses somebody off, or you just put on your asshole hat for the day for whatever reason, guess what? The people around you just associated asshole with that brand. So think about that, folks, before you put on one of these nice t-shirts and go out and be an asshole. Don't be an asshole wearing a t-shirt.
No, that's true. And that's a good point, because, and Camden touched upon this, you are going to attract what you attract by the way you conduct yourself. And I didn't even understand that when my dad was telling me, be careful who you hang out with. Right. And I always wanted to hang out with the cool guys that were assholes, always getting in trouble. Right. Took me a while. I was hard.
The jive guys. You want?
Yeah, the jive guys. Gang banging on the street corner. Right. But you're right, Otis. You will attract who you are. And I would venture to say anybody wearing a Veterans Path t-shirt is probably a stand-up person. We're just doing that as an example, but I think that's part of what this is all about. It's about finding solutions, making networks that are sustainable, creating sustainable networks and business models and communities that, because that bad stuff doesn't last too long. You have a bad reputation, you serve a hamburger that's horrible. How long do you think you're going to stay in business? You keep yelling at customers coming in your door, you keep screwing people over in the business world. And we could tell stories about that, right? But that stuff only goes so far. Sustainability to me is goodwill. Yeah. And you guys we pulled that out of the hat, I think, but yeah, it's all good.
One thing I wanted to make sure I asked you, John, as we were touching on a few different things, as you mentioned getting into your quantum physics last night and all that kind of stuff. I like to dive down my rabbit holes and do the same type of thing. So I had to ask you, John, because you're one of those guys that needs to be asked this kind of question. What's the most interesting new idea or theory or anything like that you've read or heard about recently? What's your favorite one?
The most interesting one, #planet. I'm like, holy cow, those guys are cool. No, I would have to say, I really like the Center for Humane Technology. Have you guys heard about that?
I haven't.
Check it out. The Center for Humane Technology. It's the guys that basically created the platforms that we like Twitter and Pinterest and this. And I think it's actually out there in Colorado. I think the corporate or the headquarters, but check out the Center for Humane Technology. And what it really is saying, what they're saying is that technologies have given us a lot of great things, but there's also a downside to that. And there's this effect where people use it to manipulate in a, what's a good word, nefarious manner. And they do it through dopamine spikes, and they do it through cortisol, and they do it through all these things that, that we react to. And so these guys are putting together a think tank and offering solutions for people that are operating these technological platforms to think more about humanity instead of bottom line dollars. Because if you think about this, artificial intelligence experts, let's say, they believe, or they kind of dismiss the notion that human creativity, they act as if it's a glitch or even like an illusion. So if we have that mindset, every act of human imagination is an illusion. And now how is that scientific? So I love what those guys are doing. I'm sorry I gave you such a long answer, but the Center
That's
for
why
Humane,
I asked that question.
Center for Humane Technology, they're up to something pretty cool.
Well, staying in the deep thought, I got to know. So I know you just launched #planet. What's next? What's the next, either #planet or what do you got cooking on the back burner that you're about to turn up the heat on?
Otis, man, you know me, right? So my second book is coming out. I did the Fractals book about the childhood stuff, and the second book is coming out. It's a poetic, how would I say this? It's called Freedom Punch, and it's a poetic indictment of the political status quo. And it's due out next week. It's pretty hard hitting. There's going to be some eyebrows raised because most of the poems surround the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights and some of the things that we've witnessed this past summer. And some of the names have been changed to protect the innocent, but it's pretty, it puts my patriot, my love heart for America out there. And so you'll see that next week. So that's on the burner. Then I'm still continuing on with Straight Out Combat Radio. I took kind of a 3-month hiatus to get the #planet thing, but I want to still tell and interview the stories of our combat veterans, because I still think that it's important to still change that narrative, from combat veterans being, half baked, half cocked, ready to blow something up. I still would like to be part of the solution to change that narrative through storytelling. Green Zone Hero, I know you've been hearing this since last December. Website companies are sometimes hard to work with. We had to do some things with Green Zone Hero. So we do have a complete brand new subscription-based Green Zone Hero platform going to launch soon. I'm praying to God that it launches soon, but it'll be a lot less expensive. It'll be a lot easier to manage.
Mhm.
There'll still be tools involved with it, but it won't be what it is right now. So Green Zone Hero will have a new look. Hashtag Planet, I'm still working hard to get it. My goal is 100 nonprofits. We've got 20. And then I'm going to have another book come out in February about, it'll be a poetry book again, but it'll be a sketch of veterans and people who served in the military. Character poems about, it's kind of hard hitting too, but it gives a real look into the mind of people that serve in the military. And then some anecdotal things, but also some true stories in poetry fashion about people that I know personally who were damaged by the war, and going to tell their stories with poetry.
No, that's great. And man, in case you listeners weren't paying attention, John might be a little bit creative if you just a wee touch going on, which is awesome. So, you know, you check back with John next month, and I bet you he's got another book and he's got something else going, which is just awesome and exciting. And man, it's been a blast having you with us today, John. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to shift to what'd you learn, and I'm going to go first today. Not Camden. Those of you, I know I always make fun of this and placing bets, you know, the Vegas odds are up pretty high. So you never know when I'm going to pull out a random Camden goes first. So, but what I learned today was and I got to look it back up just after making fun, the year of authenticity, because I love the fact of being authentic, and nothing shows authenticity more than a crisis, right? And whether you want to label the Rona as a crisis or a speed bump or an environmental effect, whatever you want to label it as, I think it's caused a lot of businesses to be authentic in who they are. And the ones who are truly authentic are the ones that are going to survive all the, I was at a civic meeting last night for our little town here about all the small businesses getting shut down and all the big boxes staying open. And, you know, the ones that are doing that are standing up are the ones that are going to make the difference and survive. Sorry, I didn't mean to go too political on what I learned, but that authenticity is just so powerful. So thanks for tossing that out there, John. So John, what'd you learn?
I learned that there are still good people doing good things for all the right reasons. And the Cam and Otis show, I mean, you know, you guys are consummate entrepreneurs yourself, and you guys are solution finders as well. And you guys are a perfect example, and also etiquette matters, but you guys are a prime example. It's really, really cool to see a father and son with a high standard. And it's nice to me. It's nice to see that that's still alive in America. And your show, you probably don't even know. It's kind of like the give back thing, Camden. You don't know who's listening, but I can tell you the way you guys conduct an interview and the way you guys pull stuff out of the people that you have on your show, it's touching people. And it is authentic. And that's what I learned, Otis, is that there's still good people like y'all doing good things. And it makes me proud and humbled to be here, but also proud to be part of what you guys are doing. Thank you for that.
I got to say, we have one random person that we've heard from a friend of a friend of a friend that took an idea that we had in an episode and is running with it on a business. We'll have to reach back out. We'll have to, Dad, we'll have to do a deep dive and try to remember who the hell that was. And I know it was an ag problem that Dr. Quello and I were talking about, but we'll have to do a deep dive and check in on that. Maybe we'll get him on the show, right?
Okay, and what'd you learn?
Cool. John, what I learned from you, I loved with your answer about buying versus giving, how when you're buying something, you want something in return. That's that actual transactional behavior. And then versus giving, you're not really looking for anything in return. And I just loved how simply you distinguish those two of, I only want something in return if I'm buying it. If I'm giving, I don't care. It's out there. It's out in the universe doing good, and it can multiply and come back, but I'm not wanting anything out of it.
That's cool. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome. John, how can folks get follow up with you? Hashtag Planet. What's the best way?
Yes, sir. You can go to #planet.co. That's not a .com, it's a .co to let people know we're a business. And our Green Zone Hero, you can find me there. You can find me on that's greenzonehero.com. And then John Krotec on Facebook. We've also got a Twitter account, Instagram, all of those things that I know nothing about, but we try to use them. And then my email address is john@greenzonehero.com. And my cell phone number, I'm Eastern Standard Time, and I usually turn it off around 9 o'clock at night, but is 941-400-7333. And if you have a question or you just like to trade notes or have an idea, something we can do better, give me a shout. I'm available, and I'll make sure I get back to you as soon as I can.
That's
Love it.
awesome, John, and I appreciate that. And yeah, I know that anybody listening out there, that's a no BS. If you got something, hit John up, hit him up. I mean, that's a true authentic toss out there. So just reusing words and reemphasizing things. Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank y'all again for listening to today's show. Special thanks to John Krotec for joining us here again today. And our sponsors, MASH, Military and Athletic Strength Hemp Oil, and Verbi Virtual Events. You can check out recent episodes of the Cam and Otis Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and check out a full archive at thecamandotisshow.buzzsprout.com. Cam and Otis Show is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next week.